Something you'll hear from a lot of streamers, YouTubers, and streaming educators the past couple years is that burnout is a big deal. Burnout. They may post about it or make videos about it every other week, it seems like. It's really unhealthy to be burned out that much. The truth is, yes, everyone struggles with burnout. It's totally normal. To a degree, we need to normalize that, I guess, although I never really saw a whole lot of stigma around it in the first place myself, but I digress. But I don't think it needs to be as big of a deal as content creators like to make it to be. The problem is that content creators, streamers especially, don't like to change their habits or what they do. They have a set idea of what their streaming career is supposed to look like. They have a set thing that they're going to do every single day to try it and achieve it, whether it's successful or not. And they're going to deal with the same periods of burnout over and over for the same sources of anxiety over and over and over. This is so unhealthy that eventually you will have to quit because it has damaged you so badly. This video is brought to you by Nerd or Die and their iridescent stream package. If you want something that's minimal, clean, but also has a little bit of flair with the little sticker accents, Nerd or Die's latest stream package is the one for you. This one is really kind of slick, has light and dark themes, and has way more content and customization than even Nerd or Die's normal stream packages. So check them out in the link in the video description or head over to eposvox.gg/nerdordie to learn more. I'm gonna ruffle a few feathers here. I've been ticking off a lot of streamers on TikTok by kind of going against the grain on the traditional advice, but I think it's stuff a lot of people need to hear. And I'm going to kind of say that some people need to stop with some of their advice on streams. An example of this, and this is all over the place, saying that every minute that you spend that you are not working, someone else is. So what? Your value as a human being is not defined by how much work output you put out, especially as a content creator when you're still discovering your creative journey. This is a creative field. Inspirations and motivations come and go. And the idea that even to think and then spit out the quote, especially multiple times, to inform others that every minute that you spend that you're not working, someone else is, as if that hurts you, is the definition of anxiety. This is not healthy. Worrying about what someone else is doing that you could be doing in place of whatever it is you're actually doing is an incredible weight of anxiety. As someone who has struggled with anxiety issues my entire life and has worked through them quite a bit, yet you rarely hear me or see me talking about burnout, despite however much I may experience it. That is one of the heaviest weights of anxiety you can put on your shoulders as a content creator. It is one of the most toxic and unhelpful forms of anxiety you can put on yourself. And I can't even imagine trying to tell someone else that as if that's something they need a reality check for or something. I have prided myself for much of my career as being someone who outworks other creators. I do that as a form of compensation to make up for lost ground in terms of work and things like that, which still isn't healthy. But I had done that for quite a long time because I started doing a bunch of different things, failed at a lot of them, as a lot of people do, and as the healthy way to go. And then I wanted to compete with the likes of Linus Tech Tips and so on, but in my own niche. And in order to do that, I had to match their quality or scale or what have you in some capacity. The issue is they're well established. They have more resources. You know, all the big creators, they have more resources. They have more money. They have staff. Linus Tech Tips have like 30 people. So in order for me to compete, I have to work harder. The thing is, me not working harder doesn't necessarily hurt me. And I have looked back at different periods of my life and been like, wow, I wish I would have done X, Y, or Z instead of focusing on YouTube. When I was in college, I spent so much of my time neglecting what was going on around me or what I could have been involved in order to work on my YouTube channel because it was so serious and because I had this weight, this stress of I need to work and make this happen right now, that I regret it. I'm not a person who regrets many things, but to a degree, I probably regret that. There's social participations that I skipped out on. I wasn't a very social person. I didn't do a whole lot of networking. I didn't make a lot of friends. I was the video editor for my college newspaper. And instead of being more involved in the college newspaper and build those lasting connections and get that experience, which would have been very helpful in my career, I did the bare minimum and bowed out so I could go upload my Halo videos or my crappy unboxings at the time or whatever. Now, to a degree, some of the work that I did along the way, and of course hindsight is 2020, but some of the work I did along the way is how I established myself up to this point. And yes, being so serious about it is part of how I was able to make it a full-time job as early as I did, because I basically brute forced it with work. I scaled up my output by basically dedicating my entire life to it. I never, ever, ever in my entire life want to repeat the workload that I had when I was in college. I was a full-time college student taking 18-hour credit hours of classes on campus, going there. I had a part-time 20 to 30 hour a week job that I worked around that to make money and pay for things. I also did a weekend internship at a radio station, usually both days, sometimes just one day. I was building my relationship with my girlfriend, now wife, and I was running my YouTube channel. I was doing all of this at once. I had no time to breathe. All I drank, this is ironic since I have it in front of me, but all I drank was caffeine. I had never had any water in my life. I barely slept. I was an anxious mess for years at that point because all I knew was go, go, go. I had spent my entire high school career kind of not really knowing what I wanted to do. And once I figured out what I wanted to do and how much I cared about it, I built this up and followed these kinds of anxious thoughts of all these channels already figured it out, so I have to catch up. And realistically, I could point to basically any day or any month or even any year in my past career, in my past history, and been like, I could have just done none of that and still be exactly where I am today. And you will think the same thing about your streaming career in 5 or 10 years, whether you make it or not. Streaming an extra 8 hours instead of spending time with your family, instead of going and doing something more fun, instead of getting that extra sleep that you've been wanting for a while, or instead of apparently people call in sick to stream. Don't do that, to their day job. In a couple years, you're going to be like, why did I do that? That was dumb. That extra 8 hours is not going to make or break your career. There are so few, in the moment, this is what made me famous kind of things these days, especially as things have become so saturated and normalized. Like, it's different if you're the only one on the platform. There's a little bit more discoverability there. But these days, that's not a thing. And I hate that this has become the normal. And what's weird is some of the TikToks that I've been seeing are from people who are like, yeah, I hate that we normalize that we have to work so much, and then they quote, every waking hour you spend that you're not working, someone else is. What? How can you, in the same breath, basically, say that you hate that this has become normal, and then do your part to normalize it? Burnout is a serious thing. It's something that we all struggle with. It's tied to anxiety, depression, it's tied to seasonal depression, it's tied to ADHD in some ways, and it's tied to the pressure that we feel as content creators to go, 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 go. In fact, I would argue that I have experienced almost 3 months of burnout from the move process taking 3 times as long as we expected, the weight of not being able to work properly. It's been very difficult for me to get back into the content creation game. I have a lot of ideas going, and I've been able to channel a lot of them through TikTok, through the short videos and things like that. But I don't sit here and talk about how it's I don't sit here and make videos on it every other week because it's completely taking over my life. I have healthy means of coping with it. So here are 5 ways that you can avoid burnout using healthy coping strategies and, healthy approaches to your content that don't involve just working more. There is no rush to making it or achieving your dreams as a creator. There is no rush at all. You don't really have a hard set time limit. So stressing out and doing everything you can every waking moment to get to that level of success right now only hurts you. It only leads to burnout because you're not going to get it right now. There's very little you can do in a day-to-day moment that involves sacrificing your sleep, your time with family or friends, your pursuit of your own personal, happiness or hobbies that will help you get success any quicker whatsoever. There's very little you can do. That's not really how it works. So don't rush into it. Enjoy the journey. Enjoy the process of becoming a streamer and learning to stream, and you will find that you get burned out a lot less. Streaming and content creation isn't really a competition, even though people frame it that way all the time. There is enough for everyone to eat at the table of being a YouTuber, a streamer, or a TikToker, or whatever. There's room for everyone. Everyone's journey is different, and just because someone is streaming at a time that you are not, does not mean that they are taking anything away from you. We're all walking on different paths and doing different things, and someone else gaining success does not hurt you. If anything, a rising tide raises all sails. Someone in your niche doing well brings more eyes to that niche and will help you as well. Something often overlooked by streamers especially, but also other content creators as well, is having other hobbies and other interests aside from the content that you create. This can be really tough and was a huge problem for me as I was starting my career because I was making videos on gaming and I really enjoyed gaming. Gaming was my main hobby and what I did with all of my spare time, but suddenly it was so integrated into work and then I didn't have other hobbies to pursue outside of work that then you have no other personal interests or other things to do with your spare time for leisure or to just enjoy yourself. And that is incredibly unhealthy and leads to burnout. So you need to set aside your personal hobbies that you can share on stream or in your videos, but aren't tied to them so that you can turn off the camera, turn off the stream, do whatever you need to do, and go do your own thing and have fun and still have something to work on that gets your creative and personal juices going without being work that you are getting paid for. Very important. Along with the idea of having other hobbies, if you work in a creative field such as streaming or content creation, you kind of need to have other creative outlets because day to day there is a lot of work that you need to do as a content creator that isn't necessarily getting those creative juices going, or you may reach a point with your content which you could approach in different ways, but you may reach a point where you have creative juices where you want to do something else. And while that can be productive to channel that back into your work and find new ways to spice it up, sometimes you end up wanting to do something that's totally out of left field and could actually hurt you to pivot so strongly in your content. Whereas if you work on those other creative jobs or creative, art that you want to make just for yourself, that is extremely healthy and can help get your mind in the right space. For example, I really enjoy doing photography. And while that is looped into some of my content, I'm not a professional photographer. I'm not making videos about photography necessarily. I'm just gonna go with my camera gear I already have and go take pictures and practice that art and do it for myself. A secret art is an art that you do for yourself just to do it. You need to define your own success. Something that causes burnout for basically every content creator or streamer is tying your success to arbitrary numbers that you don't have control over, such as subscribers, likes, views, followers, whatever, and competing with one another. Just because someone else has made success in a different form or in a different speed than you have doesn't mean you're any less successful. And identifying your level of success based on being a top 1% streamer or a 500,000 to 1 million subscriber YouTuber, that's not success personally you. That's just a big number that society has told you brings you value. Your success should be based on things you can actually control and accomplish. For example, how often did you stream? Did you set a consistent schedule and stick to that for a whole year? That's successful. You have a nice community that hangs out with you on your Discord server and checks out your streams and responds to you, and you get to have bi-weekly game nights and you enjoy those? That's success. Have you made one video a week or every other week and been proud of your accomplishments as you've improved your video making skills along the way? That is success. Arbitrarily reaching X number of followers or subscribers isn't it. Success is what you define it to be, and until you define your own success in a way that truly matters intrinsically to yourself, you'll never actually be happy with your level of success. You'll just keep moving the goalpost further and further away. I'm gonna wrap this video up by saying this. Yes, every waking moment that you spend not working, someone else is. And that has virtually zero impact on your life. If you have 0 viewers on your stream because you just started, streaming an extra 16 hours to 0 viewers did literally nothing to improve your streaming career. Now, I did just make a video in which you could argue that to some degree, the more streaming you do, the more experience you get kind of doing it better. But realistically, until you have an audience that you're bouncing ideas off of and seeing what works with them and what, scares people away or whatever, just streaming to an empty room only is, there's a curve of diminishing return in terms of how much practice you can get in, especially in a short period of time before you reflect on it and learn from it. Doing a daily stream when you have 0 viewers is the biggest possible waste of your time you could do right now. That kind of grind mentality of, oh, I'm gonna start streaming, but I'm gonna outstream everybody else. And this is some Mr. Beast advice as well, as he's always talking about, you just need to film more than everybody else and you'll make a better video. Hell no. You need to stream maybe 2 times a week if you can, once a week, and put that extra time into finding your audience, finding your voice, finding your niche. And then once you have an audience, you can experiment with them more. But at no point do you need to grind and consider how to maximize your number of stream days, your number of days you work on video. You work with what fits in your schedule, and do not feel bad or guilty when you have to spend time on real life things. Like, could you imagine if I posted that I had a baby and then was streaming like 12 hours later and streaming daily still? Like, some people can make that work, but realistically, I need to be with my family. Like, same thing with everybody. Like, this video's been kind of all over the place, but I had some really impassioned thoughts I wanted to share, so I'm just gonna throw them up and fill in some content slots because I'm still finalizing the studio. As you can see, it's starting to look more real. We got a lot of cool stuff to share with you moving forward. I got some cool products I want to finally review, things like that. Hit the like button if you enjoyed. Let me know your thoughts in the comments, or join us over on Discord, discord.gg/EposVox if you have any thoughts as well, or hit me up on TikTok. Let's get to that 10K follower mark or whatever. Your all's responses to the TikToks have been absolutely glorious, and I am extremely appreciative of them. And so you can go follow me over there as well. I'm EposVox. I'll see you next time.